Hello, St. Anne Parish. Welcome to the second week of Easter, Thursday of that week. I hope we're wearing our masks when we're out in public, when we're around other people. It's just the safe thing to do. Heather Schreiner and Kathy Momartz have made masks for me, so I'm set. But I'm going to take it off now because I'm not around other people. And secondly, for some of you, I know it's easier to hear what I'm saying, to understand what I'm saying, if you can also see my lips. So those are two good ways for us to hear one another, by actually hearing with our ears and seeing what people are saying. So I will take the mask off while I'm talking with you. Before we go forward, and speaking of sound, hearing people, got a couple calls, excuse me, a call and an email, people frustrated they couldn't hear they couldn't hear Mass last week. There were some volume issues. We're aware of it. We're taking care of it. So I'm suspecting that some of you may not have heard my homily, and not that it was that great, but there were 5 things that I identified that I thought would be of primary concern to a Christian at this time. And I just wanted to review those because, again, as we watch the news day to day and we see and hear things happening, it becomes a little dicey as to whether we're honoring what I think a Christian's primary concerns might be. So I just want to share what I think they would be. First of all, it would be a concern for those who are afflicted with the COVID-19 virus. This is a horrible disease. If you've read anything about it, you know what a terrible affliction this is. So our concern is with those people who are suffering from this and who have died, and for their family members and friends who grieve their loss. They are victims of this coronavirus as well. Secondly, our prayer concern would be those who are on the front lines, as we say, people working in hospitals, nursing homes, ambulance crews, as well as those who are in essential services, who go to work every day and help the rest of us make it through day to day. Those would be a concern in their safety, their well-being. Third, I think a Christian can't help but be concerned with the poor, the people Jesus was always most concerned about. And there's a story in the paper today about the hunger epidemic that now awaits the world as a result of this. And so we as Christians are obviously attentive to that. Fourth, a Christian would be concerned with those who are experiencing financial plight, and that goes to the previous concern. But before we get to a pandemic of hunger, there's the reality of businesses that are closing, people who are being unemployed, and so the frustration, the concern of what do we do, how do we respond to that? And fifth, I think a Christian would be concerned to honoring what is best for the well-being of our society, the greater good, as we say. Recognizing isolation is a horrible thing, and terrible things we're losing out on terrible things because of this. Graduations, weddings, funerals that aren't happening because of this. Also, we're especially worried about those who are in isolation, older folks in nursing homes who can't leave their rooms, people who experience mental illness and depression that are exacerbated by this. But acknowledging that the sadness, the frustration, the isolation, the loneliness, but we also want to be responsible and to honor what medical experts say, those who know what they are talking about, and abiding by what they urge of us, whether that's wearing masks, whether it's staying home, what that means. So it's a matter of not giving in to those who say what we want to hear, those who are promoting political agendas, and there's a lot of that going on, both sides these days, I fear, as well as those who are planting seeds of discord and threatening the very security that we're striving to accomplish. So those would be primary concerns of a Christian, I believe, at this time. And so I just encourage you to ponder all that and consider how we abide by that, how we honor some of those or all of those concerns. I want to talk in today's video, quick things about what's happening at St. Anne Parish, and then a little bit of what's not, unfortunately. First of all, what's happening is that we're celebrating Lord's Day Mass every Sunday. We make it available at 5 p.m. on Saturday in an email that every parishioner whose email address we have gets. If you're getting this email, you get that email. And I really would encourage you, if that has not become part of your pattern, to intentionally set aside a time to participate in that Lord's Day Mass, to set a time, a place, to engage other members of your family, to print out the worship aid that's provided. There's a link to that with this video so you can prepare for your celebration of Mass this weekend, to just really make that a priority, an intentional part of your weekend. Other things that are happening, our meetings, our staff. We missed a meeting this week because I just took a few days off. I needed a little break, I'll be honest. But up until now, we've had staff meetings every week since this began. We meet via Zoom, which is an amazing platform. Our pastoral and finance councils met last week via Zoom. You can see pictures of that on our Facebook page. Maybe I'll post them with this video as well. Our First Communion parents met, previously scheduled meeting at 9 a.m. on Sunday, and that went ahead as planned via Zoom. So these things have continued to happen. Discussions, there's not a lot of planning that can go on, but at least we're engaging one another in conversation as to what are people's concerns and what are things that we can address during this time. And also, Newman Catholic Schools had a major announcement last week. The appointment of a new president for our system, Jeff Gulan. So that was great news to share. The video announcement of that is connected with this email as well. And I encourage you, if you're at all engaged with the Newman Catholic School community, which we are as a member, as we are as a parish, I'd encourage you to just spend some time and get to know Jeff a little bit as well. And we have a wedding coming up this Saturday. So there are things that are happening. Obviously, there will be only 10 people at that wedding, but it will be happening, and we'll have a picture of the bride and groom in next week's bulletin, maybe with this email as well. But on one hand, there are things happening. On the other hand, there are things that won't be happening, at least not in the initial time frame. First Communion was scheduled for May 2nd and 3rd. That won't be happening. We're making some other arrangements with parents and families of First Communion children to celebrate First Communion at some point, hopefully during the summer. But again, that won't be happening on May 2nd and 3rd. Confirmation was scheduled with Bishop Callahan for May 16th. That won't be happening. Our mission trip to West Virginia, we just received word on Monday, has been canceled. It's too dangerous to bring kids together in those situations. There's no distancing that can occur. They're coming from all over the country, so all kinds of issues come into play. That was a real hard decision for our organizing group to make, but certainly we trust that it was the right decision for them to make. Our Parish Festival is coming up in June. Lots of things have been canceled already in June. Our Fest leadership team will meet on May 5th to make a decision regarding what happens with the St. Anne Fest for 2020. So I know this causes a lot of frustration, sadness, anger. I guess I just encourage us all to be patient, to take some deep breaths, and to resist jumping to quick conclusions and solutions, and just be patient with this circumstance as we go forward, which I know becomes harder and harder with each passing day. And especially those, again, who are in isolation, who are watching this, who haven't had a meal with somebody maybe in over a month. It just becomes overwhelming. But again, to just encourage patience, deep breaths, prayer, trusting in God's mercy, especially during this challenging time. Before we go, I want to share a little story that involves these glasses. I'll put them on just so you can see for a minute. So these are the glasses that I wore on the Camino, and they're great. The Camino de Santiago in Spain. So I walked there a year ago. Some of you may remember I was gone for a few weeks. But they're great because first of all, they portray the world to be a much brighter place than it is. So they're kind of rose-colored glasses. But they also prevent wind and sand and stuff from getting in my eyes. Well, last week, I've been walking a lot because I have time to walk in these days. I couldn't find them. I couldn't find the glasses. For about a week, they were missing. And I'd kind of given up, but I also figured I would find them somewhere. Maybe they were on a shelf, on a table, somewhere I'd left them. So last Saturday, and this is something I do every Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning, I got dressed up and came over to church just as if we're going to have Mass, because I just think that's a good routine for me to continue. So I came over for 4 o'clock Mass, walked the sidewalk from the pastor's residence over to my office, spent some time in church, did a little work at my desk. And so around 5:30, 6 o'clock, I'm walking back to the house. And these glasses, remember, that have been missing for the week are sitting right in the middle of the sidewalk that I walk across every time I go between the house and the office. And they were not there when I walked over to church or the other times I'd walked back and forth during the day. So not only were they there sitting on the sidewalk right in the middle of my path, but a little rubber um, coating that had been coming loose was glued, was fixed. So someone must have found my glasses, also noticed they needed a little repair, and took care of that for me. I guess, unless it was a miracle of some sort. Regardless if that person is watching, thank you. The glasses are in great shape, and I'm much more attentive, I guess, to what's along the sidewalk because who knows what else might be have been lost and now found and broken and now fixed, and it's just waiting for me to notice it along the sidewalk. So again, thanks to whoever found and fixed my glasses, or maybe it was just a miracle. Either way, it was a miracle of sorts. Yesterday was the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, a significant occasion for the world, but especially for Wisconsin because one of those who's identified as the founders of Earth Day was our legendary former U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson. And I'd like to share with you a prayer for care of the earth, which is found in Give Us This Day. And again, this is a resource to help us with our daily prayer. There are copies in our gathering space for anyone to take. Their sample copies for April, as well as little white books as well to continue our prayer during Easter time. But I want to share this prayer for care of the earth from Give Us This Day. God, our Father and Creator, we give you thanks for the wonder of creation which inspires us, the fruit of the earth which feeds us, the beauty of nature which grounds us, and the joy of life which gives us hope, even in desperate times. Heal the places where your creation has been marred and restore all creatures to the splendor of your glory, that all may delight once again in your goodness. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Take care, everyone. Be safe. Stay at home. Be patient. Be kind. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed.